Well, they say the first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. But today we're going to break that rule because me and my buddy Jeff, we're going to talk about some learning lessons from martial arts. And so I think you'll find this interesting, hopefully, and some things he's learned from Fight Club. So let's start the intro and welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, I want to introduce my buddy Jeff, and we're discussing some stuff around recovery, and Jeff has his own recovery story. Before we get into Fight Club and before we get into his Fight Club and some of his life lessons, Jeff, welcome aboard.
Hey.
And you have been tracking with my podcast for a while. And tell us a little bit of your recovery journey. And what makes you somebody who would actually sit and listen to these podcasts?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the very first time I even met you was years and years ago, was right in the midst of my crashing, my world crashing down, where you may say the keys didn't work anymore.
Yep.
And, but yeah, definitely been through recovering. Recovering, I say that because this journey is a long journey, and
absolutely
still on it, from porn addiction, alcohol, drugs, workaholic, you name it. I've pretty much tried and dabbled in every one of them, and enough to have been addicted to them all. And it's kind of been a life. I'm finding it's a lifelong journey of unwinding that stuff. So,
and you've been the king of cross addictions, and it kind of blew up your marriage, and you due to the grace of God have come through the other side, but it's certainly been a process, hasn't it?
It's been a process. It's still a process. Yeah. It's I haven't reached the top of the mountain. If there's a top of the mountain, I don't know if you've reached the top of the mountain, but I feel like I'm doing making headway
right
in this season of my life. But definitely, I don't know if there's a top to the mountain in recovery.
Right. Well, we use the idea of a Sherpa guide. That would hopefully mean somebody who has been to the summit at least a couple times. But I guess in this example, you would get to the summit and you would stay at the summit. Yeah. But eventually you'd run out of oxygen. So
that's right.
Anyways, we had this really, really fun discussion. If you have, you listen to Porn Free Radio at all, me and my fellow coach, Matt Dobschutz, and Chris White from the UK, we had this whole discussion around the efficacy. There's a good word. The effectiveness, the benefits versus the drawbacks of keeping track of your recovery time, how many clean days you had. That's obviously something that different addiction programs use, SA, AA. And that kind of after, you said, hey, I listened to that podcast, but it really got me questioning some things and pushing back on some things. And that led into another whole discussion with martial arts. But first of all, just with this whole idea around clean records and all of that, I know you've got some ideas or things you've seen that kind of have, I guess they kind of feel sideways for you. I'm just curious your thoughts around the benefits of, knowing how many clean days or keeping track of that or having that as a motivator.
Yeah. It's something I always wrestle with. I work with guys in recovery, not specific to porn or whatever recovery. It seems to be a lot of guys are in the more drug and alcohol world.
Yep.
But I work with guys with anything,
sure,
anger, lying, whatever it is.
Yep.
Any kind of thing that's life debilitating. But often in the substance things or with porn, it's, guys who have been in the programs for a while or have come out of a lot of different programs. They always come out of the gates with their days.
Yep.
I've been, hey, celebrating this, this week kind of a thing. And everybody applauds and likes it and stuff like that.
I'm Vern. I've got 19 days.
Yeah.
Applaud.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's good. Good for you. You got 19 days, you know, and I don't know what days I have. I've never kept track of my days. I've never counted my days. And I'm not saying that not to do it or to do it.
Mhm.
I just don't find that model super helpful. And I think that we've all seen it if we've been working with guys in recovery, where all of a sudden your 150 dayer, you didn't see them for 3 or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 10 weeks. And all of a sudden they came back and they were day one.
Yeah, a little bleary eyed and
or you chased them down or you never saw them again.
Yeah.
You know, and so I find that it maybe puts in this expectation. And I had a guy this one time, he was, I just failed at the beginning of my journey. It was about a year in and really, really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I was just being honest about it. And he said to me, he goes, you know, and he was just a visionary guy, likes, you know, likes imagery, and that helps him to understand things, helps me as well. So he was talking about a cloud. He said, you know what, like there's this dark cloud, but you're not standing under it anymore. Like it's actually moved away from you. And every once in a while it shoots a little lightning back at you. Right. But it didn't mean the cloud came back over top of you. Right. And, you know, that image for me kind of stuck over the years of, oh, right. Because I used to just go, well, I guess cloud's back. Yeah. Free for all, might as well just dabble back in everything. Right. Sure. And then you end up staying away from the people that will help you, and you distance yourself. And, you know, we've all seen those patterns working with guys over the years. So yeah, I don't find it super helpful, the counting of days. Maybe that really works well for some people, right? But that becomes kind of their new goal, is that instead of actually being able to really exist in life, right? Is just kind of adding another day. So
I like that cloud imagery. For me, it feels a lot more hopeful, you know. And as we talked a little bit more, you're part of a fight club, and I'd love you to share a little bit about that. But more importantly, you started to share with me, you know, Vern, there's some things that we do in this club that actually are a helpful model of, and maybe some concepts that could be of benefit for guys wrestling with porn or wrestling in recovery, that you know, that actually were some takeaways. So I'd love you to share a little bit about what the club is you're a part of. Yeah. Why anybody would do that is another whole point, but beat their body up. But but I'd love you, and then I'd love you to hear some of your learning takeaways as it relates to recovery. So yeah.
Well, first of all, do you know what the second rule of Fight Club is?
I do not remember what the second rule was.
You don't talk about Fight Club. It's actually the first and second rule.
Oh, okay.
Both of them are, you don't talk about Fight Club.
All right.
So
okay.
I am breaking the rules here.
Yes.
Although this isn't your typical Fight Club. This is actually a legitimate.
Yes.
It's not underground. I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have on and off since I was in my 20s.
Okay.
I'm back in it again now.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I assume came from Brazil.
It did, yeah.
Wow, I'm a pretty smart guy when it comes to that.
You're sharp, yeah. So it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the reason I'm in it now, more so than I ever have before, is because my boys are 15 and 13. Okay. And they were starting to surpass me because they're in Jiu-Jitsu. Right. And they were actually starting to be able to manhandle me a little bit. So now I'm back ahead of them now. They can't again. Okay. But now I'm back and getting in shape and staying ahead. But yeah, the thing that really struck me when I was listening, and the other day when we connected on this, was just the systems that are kind of involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I actually believe that any guy in recovery should actually have, I mean, it's, you know, the exercise of it, but just be able to think outside of just recovery is a really good thing. So go and joining something like that, I think is part of a holistic recovery, as well as eating healthy and you know, whatever, finding your spirituality and whatever it might be. But, so in Jiu-Jitsu, what's really interesting to me is the belting system that they have. And for me, that fits what I think is a bit of a better model than getting chips or counting days.
Because I always know, stay away from black belts. Like, don't mess with black belts. But that's all I know. So
yeah, and if you really know, like in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's unlikely that a black belt would ever even do anything to you. Okay, because they would just walk away. They would do it. They have nothing to prove at that point. They have, you know, so they're most likely going to go. You go ahead and.
So I'm not going to be like Edward Norton and pick the biggest, toughest SOB I can find and just drive them one.
No. If you've achieved that, no, that's a great thing, because you don't achieve that. There's a it's not just a skill thing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It is, it's a whole culture. It's how if you got a bad attitude and you're just looking to beat on people, they won't promote you.
Okay.
No matter how good you are.
Fair enough.
You'll stay at the beginning, which is a white belt. Now, the parallels that I see between the two are, one is it's a long journey.
Right.
So when people come in recovery, you probably hear this all the time now.
Yep.
And I even asked this at the beginning of mine.
I remember.
How long is it going to take? Like when my marriage blew up,
yep.
First thing we asked the counselors, well, how long does it typically take for a couple to get over this?
Yes.
Yes. And we got varying answers. Most of the time, they were probably trying to be as honest as they could, but nobody was really direct with us and being like, you know what, this might be a 20-year journey for you.
Right.
Everybody's like, well, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 1 year, sometimes it's, we're now, 9 years down the journey and we're still working on it. But so the belting system is a slow system. You're a white belt for 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
And that is, so people have seen Jiu-Jitsu, they've heard about Jiu-Jitsu, they watch UFC, and they go, oh yeah, and everybody kind of thinks in their head, well, we've watched this and I've seen it and I've heard about it and I've studied it. I'm probably pretty good. I could probably do pretty well. When a guy comes into Jiu-Jitsu for the first time, throws on his gi and puts his white belt on, and even if it's a white belt that's been there for 3 months, they're going to tear him apart in seconds.
Say that again.
They'll tear them apart in seconds.
Okay.
And what you think you know, you don't know.
Right.
So
no, and I've seen that in recovery as well. A lot of guys come in going, I know a lot.
I know a lot. Yeah, I've studied it. I've done it. But have you actually done it? Have you done the recovery? Okay. Have you done the training?
Got it.
Have you worked with people on this? So it's one thing to train and read and do all this thing by yourself, but now all of a sudden you've come out and now you're actually doing this with people. You're actually being, let's say in recovery, you're being honest.
Yeah.
But you get on the mats and you start rolling around, you realize how little you actually know.
Right.
You realize how effective, not how little you know, you may actually know a lot, but how effective you are actually at applying that to your life or applying that to your skill. That's a whole other thing. You may have seen all these different things. Being able to do it is a different thing. So that's like a 1 to 2 year journey as a white belt. As you begin to come to kind of the end of that phase, you're now beginning to, like, where you would transition from a white belt to a blue belt. Okay. So there's not very many belts. There's a white, there's blue, there's purple, there's brown, there's black, and then there's like a red that's like way down the road. But as you transition to a blue belt, what's happening is you're now beginning to mount your own defense, kind of. So say you're thrown off a ship in water, and you're basically, this is a white belt starting jiu-jitsu. You're drowning. You're just trying to keep your head above water. You're getting thumped all the time. You're learning humility. And I think a lot of guys in recovery, when they first come to it, they're learning humility. It's hard.
Yeah.
It is not easy.
Right.
You are fighting for your life. You are struggling. You're sweating. The cardio, the muscles that you've never used before are being stretched. And the same thing when guys come into recovery, they're beginning to stretch. Now, some of them may have been in recovery before, right? But like I was back in my 20s. Yep. When I came back into jiu-jitsu, man, it was a whole lot of muscles and things I hadn't used for a long time.
Right.
So you start applying that. So you start to eventually, though, as you transition. So first 1 to 2 years, that's a long time. If you think about that.
Okay, so let me just stop you there. Let me go over the 2 or 3 things in our white belt now that I'm learning coming into this. Number one, I'm learning that this is it's going to take time. It's not going to be a quick, easy solution. Number one, I'm really running into the BS factor where I might have some head knowledge, but I've actually not learned to apply real steps of recovery. It's a process of almost it's a humbling process, and maybe it might take some relapses early on to realize, doggone it, this is not just about knowing things. I'm getting my butt handed to me when I get into recovery situations over and over again. And maybe now that I've got some real relapses, even though I've been in recovery, I've got some real relapses, or I've been thrown to the mat a few times by smaller guys than me. Yeah. Now I realize, okay, there's some humility here that I'm going to need to apply if I'm actually going to be successful at this long term.
Yeah. And most guys quit.
Okay.
At that stage.
Interesting.
It's too hard.
Right.
I thought this was just going to be fun. I thought I was just going to learn to defend myself. You are. Every time you get on the mats, you are. But it's hard. It really is a struggle. There's certain things that you don't naturally do, and you don't see coming. So you get rolling with a purple or brown belt, they're thinking 5 moves ahead. They're doing things. So in recovery, there's little patterns that start that you don't even see when you're first starting recovery that lead you to acting out however it might look like.
Absolutely.
As you become, so as you begin to transition into the next belt, the phase. So you've kind of learned the basics now as a white belt. Oh, okay. I see that this is what leads me to this. This is what leads me to that. This is how I get. So you can start to mount your own offense. So now you're starting to put things in place where you can actually be a little bit of a threat here.
Right.
You start rolling with guys. You're beginning to mount your own submissions. You can control the match a little bit more if it's with another white belt, with a blue belt. You can compete with them on some level, but you're not just getting thumped. Now you're actually like, hey, I'm gaining some progress here, and I'm learning. Then you get into the blue belt phase, and I've heard it said it's the blue belt blues. This is a 2-year process minimum. As far as the Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Blue belt's the second one, right?
Blue belt's the second one.
Got it. Okay.
This is a 2-year journey at a minimum. But often it takes guys 3 to 5 years to get through the blue belt to the next one. And that's why they call it the blue belt blues. And this is kind of like where you've been given the keys. So say you had a teenager in your house and your parents now giving you the keys to the car, and you've got your license now, and they're letting you drive. You've been working with them the whole time, and they could only drive anywhere with your parents. Now you've got the keys and you're actually able to drive the car for the first time. So you're able to go and explore. You're able to drive around a little bit more. You're not a great driver, but you actually have that ability to be able to, you're not drowning. You're not reaching for a life raft every second anymore.
Right.
You're swimming, you're navigating, and you've got the basic fundamentals down. Now, this can take a very long time to transition from the blue belt to the purple belt, because you really have to learn to understand yourself and what your strengths and your weaknesses are through that phase. A black belt isn't proficient in everything in jiu-jitsu, but they're very, very strong in some areas, and they've refined that craft really, really well. And you start to notice these things as you transition from blue belt to purple belt, and you'll begin to really grab a hold of the areas. Hey, you know what? This is a really strong area that I can do. These are my weaknesses, so I need to work on these still really well. And in recovery, we see that as well. Hey,
absolutely,
this doesn't affect me that much. I'm really strong in this area, but I need work in that area here.
Right. I'm really vulnerable there. Where other people might not have a problem there, but I'm really vulnerable here.
So noticing those and being able to see those is a level of maturity.
Sure.
And it shows the level of that you've put in the time. And you don't get there by reading a book. You don't get there by studying and watching videos. You get there by doing mat time. And in recovery, you get there by just walking with guys and being in this with a mentor to help you to get to a place where now I can see, oh, I'm strong in this area, weak in this area. I need to set up boundaries here. Hey, maybe there's some boundaries that actually can come down here so that I can actually move a little more, step into this little more of a freedom in life that I didn't have for a while. Those are really good to have, where we have to set up really strict boundaries for a period of time, but they can, on some level, restrict us in a way that we can't actually go beyond. I can't even go out for dinner with my wife anymore because waitress is going to, that kind of thing. Oh, now you can actually go and have dinner, or if it's
well, and to go back here, the humility that you started in the white belt process never goes away. The honesty that you need to actually have an accurate understanding of your strengths and weaknesses is still in play. Those key attitudinal postures that you started with still are very much in play through this whole process, or you're not going to proceed.
That's right. And so there's the second place where most guys quit, blue belt,
right?
Because you still haven't arrived. You're still kind of in that. You're still learning a lot in that. But then you transition to purple belt. Now the purple belt you need to have for typically a year and a half.
Okay.
It'd still again be 3 to 5 years before you advance to the next belt.
Yeah.
But a purple belt has some serious skill. If you hear a guy's got a purple belt in jiu-jitsu,
Okay. I'm not messing with them.
you don't really want to mess with. You don't really want to mess with a blue belt even. But a
Yep.
purple belt has got. And what they've done is they're actually beginning to get to a black belt level in some areas. So there are some areas where they're incredibly strong. They've learned to use those really effectively. So much so that they're actually pretty dangerous to a brown or a black belt now.
Okay.
Now they still have a lot of work to do in these other areas. So they're kind of transitioning. So it speeds up a little bit as you get into the hard belts, your whites and your blues. That's like you're trudging through the mud. But again, that can be a 1 to 6 year process.
Okay.
Now you're into purple belts. This is what I'm saying. There's a long journey involved here, and that's a lot of time on the mats.
Okay, let me throw a question by you. Let's say you're a blue belt or even a purple belt, and you have a bad day.
Yeah.
And let's say you're a purple belt, some blue belt, cleans your clock, or get you in a hold and you can't get out of. And so I assume that they take your purple belt away and you get a white belt back. Is that right?
Yeah,
They take it all away.
You go back to the beginning, get a
All
white
right.
belt, and you have to start over again. No, this is the beauty of the belting system that I think applies to recovery so well.
Right.
Is you don't lose your belt because you didn't lose all that time that you've spent in recovery.
Right.
That's where the chip system, it almost feels like you just lost all that and you're restarting over.
Right.
The belting system, a purple belt gets tapped out by a white belt.
Right.
I've tapped out purple belts
Okay.
in white belt phase.
Yeah.
If a purple belt gets tapped out by a white belt, if they've achieved the purple belt, they have enough humility to be like,
Sure.
man, how did you sneak that one by me? That was awesome.
Yeah.
And they give props to that. They don't lose that. They learn from it.
Okay.
And
all right. I like that.
Yeah. It's so here's another thing in jiu-jitsu. You either win or you learn. And there's never losing. So it's win or you learn.
Oh my goodness. That is, you win or you learn.
You win or you learn. So if you're in a competition, you either won the match, or if you're rolling with somebody on the mat, you either win the match or you learn something.
I have never heard that simple dichotomy before. And that is so good.
Yeah, it's great. It's
Wow.
cool. You either win or you learn. So you're either applying something where you learn, but you didn't lose all those skills. This person is still lethal. They're a purple belt. They're still very dangerous. They have acquired all of this, and in recovery, they've come along. They've got a lot of skill. They've got a lot of. Now they might have to go back and implement something.
Sure.
From the basic fundamentals. That's slipping now. Oh, hey, I have to reapply this because somebody found a weakness, a back. We might call it a back door or something that drew me back into that thing. But they don't go back a belt. They're still a purple belt. They still have put in that time, and they still have that level. And then you get into the brown belt and the black belt. The brown belt is the polisher. You're now polishing these skills. You're tightening things up. There's no wiggle room left. You're really squeezing things in.
Yep.
So, and you're really effective at your skill. And then you get into black belt. And the black belt is now really able to apply it so think of a musician where they've learned their skill so well that they can play. They've practiced, they know all the chords and all that stuff that they can play so proficiently that they can go anywhere with that.
So all the scales are down. They
can play all kinds of stuff. They can free flow. They can sing songs. They're not, they're in this beautiful place that we all long to be, where you are now free flowing in life because you can adjust. So black belt, and I don't know how many guys get to a black belt recovery,
right?
Where that would be, and not very many guys get to black belt in jiu-jitsu,
right?
It's a hard belt to achieve, and you got to put a lot of years in. So you're not getting hurt. You're able to stay healthy through those years to actually get to that stage. But when you're there, it's now you've achieved a level of, say, recovery that where you have to have boundaries, and where you can really explore the world now because you're freedom. You're so fast to catch when something's coming.
Yep.
Nothing sneaking by. You capture that thought, you capture that trigger, you capture that thing right away before the clock starts ticking, like your one podcast.
Yeah.
You reset that clock so fast. That's what makes you a black belt. But you have so much freedom in that as well,
right?
To be able to explore. Now, 48 years later, after that, you can get a red belt. That's after you get your black belt, but that's a whole other thing.
Is there any in the whole martial arts system, the belt system? Is there any aspect where you are looking at guys who are lower belts than you, where there's a sense of responsibility, a training responsibility, which is actually built into your progressing through it?
So you won't progress in jiu-jitsu if you're not pulling people up with you.
Okay.
So if you're a white belt, even though if you're getting really great, you're just smashing guys all the time, and you're never actually teaching, and that's your goal is to smash guys, you'll never get promoted.
Okay.
You begin to take the time to slow down, to teach, even though it puts you in a vulnerable position or whatever it might be. Recovery, that might be different. You don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable position, but you're bringing people up with you. And as you progress through the belts, you're doing this more and more. Like I roll the brown belt, every time that they submit me, they're teaching me why. They'll ask me, hey, what'd you do wrong there? And they're showing me, and then they'll teach me something new. Hey, try this. Even if it makes them vulnerable to me now, they're showing me, hey, this is where, if you want to try to get the upper edge on me here, try this, because it actually improves them when I attack them from that way. Right. So it's a journey together. You just don't.
Yeah. And first of all, that's a huge aspect of recovery, because if you're only in recovery for yourself, I mean, it's the 12th step of the 12-step program. If you're not actually, if you're only there for your own recovery, endemic to that is you actually helping guys who are not as far along as you. And as you do that, you actually can progress. You don't, you actually, guys plateau if it's just individualistic. And if the guys begin to see helping other people, that for me is super helpful. I have one guy that I'm coaching. It was so encouraging. He's one of my Vegas guys. You'll know who it is when you listen to this. And he's now coaching a guy, and that guy is now coaching a guy. And so they're walking through some of the same finding traction material. So it's like 3 or 4 generations of guys that are working with, and all those guys will continue to progress, because not only are they applying things to themselves, but as they help other guys, they now have a sense of shared responsibility. And, my actions affect other people as well. So I love that.
Yeah. And it's all about that. I mean, if you're a jerk, you're not going to go anywhere in it.
Right.
And it's all about doing it together with people. And there's ages of levels that you can't get a certain belt without being a certain age, because you're not going to have enough years and a maturity to put into it. Right. Like I was saying, the red belt, you're not going to get to a red belt. Like I said, it's 48 years of a journey. So you're in your 50s before you're ever getting to that level. Okay. Now black belt can be a black belt by the age of 19 or something like that. But that's a lot of years put in. So it's a journey. It's a journey with people. And if you start studying jiu-jitsu and you don't ever get on the mats with people and are actually doing this with people, you're never going to progress at anything.
I can't learn on a YouTube video is what you're telling me.
You can go and get on the mats and you can flop around by yourself and you can doing all these moves and all these different things, and you might get in shape because you're burning off calories. But you'll never actually learn the skills. Like doing it with people is the key, because everybody brings a different dynamic that can help sharpen you as an individual and help create just the space. It's impossible to do alone. Right. So, and it's the same as recovery. It's impossible to do recovery alone.
You're shadow boxing.
You're shadow boxing. Yeah.
Or shadow jujitsuing. So
yeah, exactly.
Jeff, great stuff. Thank you. There's just been so many connections here. Is there a third rule of Fight Club that you're aware of?
There is. Yeah. I did know all the rules, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming on. Wonderful to hear your story. And I'm not sure I want to share your bruises, but I do want to share your learning applications here. So thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks.